video. The author newbie tag questions were created by Jenna Streety. I found the questions on iWriterly's blog. So thank you to both of these people for coming up with this. These questions have been, I will link the questions in the description as well. Thank you to both of these people, Jenna Streety for creating the questions in the first place, and iWriterly for putting them up and leaving them up, even though apparently her video is down. But yeah, so this made it really easy for me to film. We will see how the editing process goes since I am using a new software to edit. But yeah, thank you. Hello everybody, it's Aradna. It's been a while since I have filmed a video that has not been a TikTok or a short, so bear with me. This is not a booktube video, but after putting it off for a really long time, I'm gonna do the author newbie tag. If you've been following me or if you've joined me from one of my other platforms, then you know that I write, and I've been writing for a really long time, and I've been wanting to do an author newbie tag. So introduce my writing, introduce myself, etc., etc. Where you can find me. All the relevant links will be in the description, and yeah, we'll see how this goes because I'm doing this. Editing will be done on a new software because since the last time I filmed a YouTube video, I've switched laptops and I no longer have the editing software I was using. So let's see how it goes. So the first question is, how did I find out about AuthorTube? I don't know, I guess I was browsing and then I realized that some of the people talking were people who wrote, and then there were a lot of AuthorTube things, and then now a lot of my writing friends, the community I have found online, a lot of them have AuthorTube videos or YouTube videos about writing, and yeah, that's how I found out AuthorTube was a thing. I can admit that I do not watch nearly as many booktube or AuthorTube videos these days. Yeah, 2 kids under the age of 10 does that. But when I do get a chance to, I like to watch my friends' videos. What genres do I write in? So primarily I keep coming back, honestly, to romance, contemporary romance. But if I look at my longer stories, I do not just have one genre that I write in. I do have a contemporary romance I'm writing, I do have a science fiction story that I'm writing, and a fantasy story that I had started, well, more than one fantasy stories that I had started that I have currently shelved. But yeah, so at the end of the day, I think though what I write is are stories about love. Not necessarily romantic love, but it comes down to love. Love for your family, love for your partner, love for your country, love for your culture. What I want to bring across in my stories is that learning to love and accept oneself, and a lot of it is because it took me a really long time to come to the realization that I didn't have to appeal to an international market when I was writing, that I could write about my experiences, my culture, my community in my stories, and now I want that aspect of appreciation and love I have for them to come across in the story. So the genre, at the end of the day, I feel the genre that I'm writing in does not matter unless if that does not come across. So I write in a lot of genres, long story short, and back to the point, I write in a lot of genres, but ultimately it's about love, and it's about representation, and it's about appreciation. What is your preferred writing tense, point of view, and type of story? So, writing tense, I usually preferred third person past tense. But when it comes to shorter stories, so short stories that I've posted online, I do experiment with my point of view. But long form stories, third person, either third person contained or third person omnipresent. It really depends on the story. But third person past tense is my preferred for those point of view. So that answers point of view, third person. And then type of story, I would put my types of stories somewhere in the new adult category, even though that is not a type of story that comes out so much. The classification of that is not used as much as I think it should be used, because of the age and experiences I'm writing about, new adult and adult would probably be the most accurate. But I will say this, that I have and am writing children's stories because, again, I do have 2 kids under the age of 10, and I like to tell them stories. And the ones that they really like, I do take down and hopefully maybe someday get them edited and polished up, and maybe someone else's kids will also enjoy them. Are you a plotter, a pantser, or a plantser? I am a plantser. I usually go in with my stories with a vague idea of about wanting to get from point A to point Z, but no idea how I'm going to get there, and I will figure that out along the way. Sometimes I'll have like, okay, I know I want to hit point J, or I want to hit point K, and then I'll have to meander along to get to those points. But outlining and getting down a full plot, I've done that a couple of times. It is not really for me. I don't write after getting the outline down. I'm just like, but I've gotten the story down. But that's not how it works. So I would say plantser. I am a plantser. Are you self-published, published, or yet to be published? I have self-published, though not like ebooks yet. A self-published short stories online. I'm gonna say that. Original short stories online to read. On my Ko-fi, I have over 15 short stories up already, and I am going to be self-publishing a novella as soon as I actually sit down and format it properly. But as for longer novels, I am yet to be published. I have yet to finish a first draft of a long novel. I'm working on it. Okay, so this question is, if you are not yet published, what is your dream literary agent or publishing house to work with? And a while back, I would have probably had an answer. I would have had a few people on mine. I would have had a few publishing companies on mine. And while I would love to be represented and published by traditionally published, be traditionally published at the end of the day, because that's how you grow up thinking that's how it works. And indie publishing is a lot of work, and I am not sure that I have the time or the brain power to put that all in at the moment. 2 kids under the age of 10, plus multiple sclerosis, which does cause a lot of like brain fog and stuff at times. But anyways, this is a distant future to worry, but I don't have a publishing house I want to be published by. I think if I get an agent and a publisher, great. I would love someone who could work with diverse voices, who works with respect to their authors' works and their culture and the community and, you know, their point of view, and isn't just doing it to get a tick in their column of, yeah, I represented a person of color. No, I want someone who actually wants to help me tell stories. You know, that would be the dream. Find someone who actively wants to help me tell my stories in particular. Because when you get an agent, you want someone who's as passionate about your stories as you, right? So if I go the traditional republishing route down the line, then that is what I would want. So what AuthorTube videos could you find on this channel? Honestly, I'm not gonna say writing tips, but like 5 tricks that maybe helped me or things like that, and talking about my process about writing. I will be interspersing writing videos with book videos and possibly vlogs, writing vlogs, reading vlogs, you know, so a few vlogs in and out of that thing. I will say this, I will not be posting very often. Once every 2 weeks is gonna be my schedule for uploads, whether they are long form videos like this or shorts or both. If I'm gonna be honest, once in a while you will get both. But yeah. So these next 2 questions are: when did I first start writing, and what was the first story I posted or I ever wrote? Sorry, what was the first story I ever wrote? I honestly do not remember a time where I wasn't writing in some form ever since I learned how to write. I've always loved stories. I've always loved telling stories, reading stories, consuming stories, and I don't remember the first time I wrote a story. I don't remember what it was about. It was honestly probably something for school, and then from there took off, but something short, and I probably never let anybody read it. I know that once I wrote a story about some of my classmates because one of them was annoying me, and I found it many years later, and I was so embarrassed because A, it was really bad, B, it was, well, one of those people in the stories is one of my best friends now. But yeah. So which authors have inspired me the most? Writing style wise, I'm gonna go with that first. Actually, C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien, because of the run-on sentences, the long descriptions and sentences, and it's like, I can do that. I can do that. I do that. Okay, it's possible to get published with that. I do like all of that. But I have talked about this on my blog a number of times. I've talked about this on Tumblr. I've talked about this on Ko-fi. I've talked about this on my WordPress. But the first time I really felt seen and represented in a book was about 10 years ago. I was 24. I was sitting in a coffee shop and I was reading one of Roshni Chokshi, the first of The Star-Touched Queen by Roshni Chokshi. I remember the exact book. I remember the exact seat I was sitting in that Starbucks, and I was reading it, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. It's an Indian mythology infused story. And well, no, it wasn't hadn't realized it was an Indian mythology infused story. It was an Indian retelling of Hades and Persephone, which is Greek mythology, right? But every mythology probably has a similar aspect, I don't know. But yeah, so it was like filled with bits of Indian culture and things I recognized. It was really different for me because growing up I didn't really have that. All the stories I was reading were predominantly filled with white characters, and even if there were characters of color in these stories, they were relegated to the side. So I was like, okay, this is really cool. It's Indian culture and infused story, and I was reading it, and then I reached this one part where the main character was thinking about a mythology she grew up a myth where the main character was thinking about a myth she grew up listening to, and I was like, okay, maybe it'll be another one of another Greek mythology, and then I was reading the thing, and I was like, wait, I know this myth. I grew up hearing this myth. I grew up learning this myth. This is about Harnakish, and I was like, wait, I had to put the book down. I tweeted Roshni Chokshi, and I was like, is this about Harnakish? And she messaged back, and she was like, yes, I'm glad you caught that. And I sat in that Starbucks freaking out because I was 24 years old, and it just hit me that I could put in my own culture, my own history in the things that I was writing. It's a very sad thing to admit that it took me that long to realize that, and people would enjoy it. An internationally published story could be possible with bits of my culture and my community and my history and the things I grew up with. And that was a turning point for my writing, I think. Like, after that, I've not shied away from Indianizing my stories and making these characters reflect the people I grew up with and the types of conversations we had and the types of experiences I've had, instead of trying to appeal to an audience that I am not a part of. So yeah, so that's switched from writing for an imaginary audience that I'm not a part of to writing for myself, writing for my kids in the future. It's things that they could read and see themselves in. Do I schedule my writing sessions, or do I just write whenever I have free time? I write whenever I have free time. Usually this has been now after the kids sleep at night or when the kids are in school. They are both in kindergarten at the moment, so that gives me a few hours in the morning to like nap and then do some work. And then after they sleep at night, I can write a bit more. If I put in a writing stream on Twitch, then yeah, that is a usually fixed thing, but I have not done that in a while, and I need to get back to it. But that's 1.5 hours of a straight out writing session, which is also a lot of fun. Do I write on a computer, a typewriter, or by hand, or do I do a blend of that? And where do I usually write? So sometimes I write on the phone, because Google Docs, and when you have an idea or a scene and you don't have a time to get your computer, or you don't have a notebook, you write it on your phone, and it's easier to type on my phone than to write by hand. Hand can get a bit tough because my hands cramp up very fast, but there is this little notebook is now being used for these prompted stories that I've been writing for Ko-fi. Yeah, so now that is an approach for those particular prompts. I will handwrite them, then I will type them out, and then I will edit them. But most of the time it's either the phone or the computer straight off, and then I try and switch platforms to do editing, or switch locations to do editing, so that I'm not in the same mindset. If there's like slight difference, just helps with the editing process. So where I usually do that is either at, if I can, I like to go out to a coffee shop or a bakery to do some writing, but if not, then I have made a little office in my sister-in-law's old room. So it's her, and so I write here, or occasionally in my room while I'm making the kids sleep on the phone, or my husband's computer is set up. It really, really depends. I do not have one place to write. What am I most looking for now that I'm a part of AuthorTube? So I am looking forward to finding more like-minded individuals to talk writing about, to talk stories about. Like, I have been really lucky to find a lot of writers that I have clicked with. I am a part of a bunch of writing discords. The Author Avengers, who we do prompts every month on Ko-fi. We have a writing discord. I will link these links in the description. The Castle Cafe, we have a writing discord. We have a creating discord, so because we're not just, most of us are writers, but also there are a lot of crafters and artists, and I'm a part of a friend's writing discord for fantasy writers. So it's really been good to find all these people, and I would just love to find more people to talk writing with, to watch other people's processes and get inspiration, get advice from everybody, from people, from if I make friends, great. If I can find an audience for people who actually enjoy reading my stories, that would also be wonderful. Thank you for joining me. If the things I've said have clicked with you in any way, please subscribe, like, follow. You have all my links again are in the description. You can find me on all of these places. I am relatively active on Ko-fi. I post exclusive short stories once a month for members, exclusive poems once a month for members, fan fiction, early access to fan fiction, and then writing snippets and prompted short stories for everybody. So if you just want to read something, and yeah, you can find me on all these platforms, and I will hopefully be recording more videos soon. We'll see about what the next AuthorTube video will be. Maybe it will be, I've done a 5 tropes I like to read. Maybe I'll do a 5 tropes I like to write. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.